Hey team, it's Mr. McAtee. You have Mrs. Davidson in for your sub today. So you know the drill. You're going to do the warm-up if you haven't already. Press play and you'll check all the answers. Then you'll go through the notes exactly like we do in class. Go ahead and make sure that your warm-up is done. Alright, you should have gotten 66 for number 1. Make sure that you have n minus 12 because 12 less than a number is written with less than in between. Remember, if I have 4 less donuts than somebody else, you have to subtract that mystery number by the number you know. So you need to flip the 12 with the mystery number. Number 2, we added 7 to both sides. It's nice and neat, and x equals 7. And number 3, here's all the options that don't work, and you're looking for the one that is n plus 9. Remember, you can also write it as 9 plus n. These are the same, so either one would work. If you need to pause, go ahead and jot that down and pause the video. Okay, today's aim is students will be able to solve one-step equations with multiplication and division. So to solve equations, we need to do a few things. We need to isolate the variable, which is the goal. And to isolate the variable, we use the inverse operation. So we do the opposite of what it's telling us to do. If you see something added, you subtract it. If you see something subtracting, you add it. If you see something multiplying it, you would divide, and vice versa. So we already know the plus and the minus. Today's new trick is how do we deal with variables that are being multiplied or divided. We're going to follow these same steps with just a slight difference with the multiplication. First step is to draw a line. Then identify the operation next to the variable. Then apply the inverse to both sides. Then solve it, and we'll see how we can check our work. So this example looks funny. There's no sign in between the 3 and the n. What is happening between the 3 and the n right now? If you have a number next to a variable, remember how I said never to write it like this? They will almost always write it with the number next to the variable, and that means multiplication. So I'm thinking in my head, what is the opposite of multiplication? Well, that would be division. So let's start with a line down the middle. If I wanted to get rid of the 3, I want to isolate the n, what's the opposite of multiplying? It's dividing. We're always going to show dividing with a division bar. This problem is the same thing as this problem. When you're working with equations, because we're working step by step, top to bottom, you always use a division bar. That's going to show me that the 3's will cancel. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so 1 over 1 is really just n. 81 divided by 3, I don't know it, so let's check. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 left over, bringing down your 1. 21 divided by 3 is 7. There are no remainders. You know this is your answer. And let's check the signs. Same good, different bad, different signs. It's a bad guy. So what was the original operation? It was multiplication. We created a coefficient of positive 1. Coefficient means the number in front. The number in front of the variable was 1 over 1, which we just said was 1n or n. You don't have to put the 1 there. And we created it by dividing. Example 2. This one also looks funny. You have a y over a negative 4. Remember that when you have a division bar or a fraction bar, it really means division, y divided by negative 4. So to get y by itself, do the opposite. The original problem tells us to divide. The opposite is going to be to multiply. The inverse of division is multiplication. Do it to both sides. Because this is a fraction kind of, and that's just a whole number, let's make the negative 4 into a fraction. Cross cancel, 4 and 4 are both negative, so they cancel to just a 1. This became 1 times y, and 1 times 1, which is 1y. 1y can be written as 1, or as y, excuse me. This became y. Then on the right side, 13 times 4. Same signs are good, different signs are bad. That's a bad guy. That is your answer. Okay, you have some time to work with a partner, and this time I do have answers for you. If your work looks exactly like notes, you will get to move on to independent work and then maybe homework. You need to have this level of work on your paper with the answer equaling something. This box over here should be for showing scratch work. You need to show all of your work on the side. If you don't have this level of work, you will not be getting credit today at the end of class. Go ahead and do 5 minutes of, or maybe even 7 to 10. Looks like there's 8 problems. There's 2 silvers. When you finish, you'll end the period with independent practice work. As always, guys, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Have fun.